Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second session of Strengthening Public Governance and Accelerating Innovation to Achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, provided by United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs and the Seoul National University's Global Research and Development Business Center. Today's session is the fourth one of this series on making digital transformation and ESG compatible and mutually reinforcing. We will follow the excellent session we had last week on accelerating digital transformation for SDG implementation and sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19, from which we learned a lot how we can organize national level governance structure to make all the efforts about SDG and fight against COVID-19 can be effectively organized and operated. Today's session will focus on looking at all those technological enhancements in those areas of big data, AI, AR and VR, IoT, blockchain, robotics, and mobile communications, including 5G. And people now have tools to dramatically improve environment, industries, businesses, education, culture, social services, transportation, and person-to-person connections through these technologies. But while such digital technologies render a big range of opportunities to improve and advance human well-beings, there should be clear and basic consideration that should be applied to the development and implementation of such digital technologies based on ESG. So this session will provide opportunities to explore how the development of digital technologies and their practical applications and implementation can be shaped in ways to ensure that they contribute to the improvement of human well-beings according to the framework and principles of ESG. For housekeeping items, we will provide certification for those people who successfully complete the course according to the conditions of that. You must attend 8 out of 10 sessions and remain 75 minutes in each session, and you have to be awakened all through the 75 minutes. If you do have questions, you can raise your questions on the Q&A box at the bottom of Zoom screen. Please don't enter your questions in the chat box. In the chat box, we have lots of difficulty in identifying the questions. So please use Q&A button and enter your questions whenever you have any question to ask to the presenters today. Right, today's session will be with 3 outstanding leaders in ESG and SDG field. The first presentation will be done by Mr. Won-gi Min, the president of the State University of New York, Korea. And then secondly, Dr. Zeki B. Khoury, the senior digital development specialist of the World Bank, will talk about unlocking digital transformation for all opportunities and risks. And lastly, Dr. Young-Sub Ju, distinguished professor of Graduate School of Engineering and Technology, Korea University, will deliver precious message on ESG embedded business model innovation based on digital transformation. I'd like to introduce Dr. Min first. Dr. Won-gi Min, president of the State University of New York, Korea, is a global leader in digital policy. He's the president of the State University of New York, Korea, And he is the former vice minister at the Korean Ministry of Science and ICT, where he led to set up the national AI strategy. He chaired the OECD AI expert group and the Committee on Digital Economy Policy, which produced the OECD AI principles. He was the chairman of the 25 ITU Council and the 2014 ITU Plenipotentiary Conference. Please welcome Mr. Min. Over to you, Mr. Min.
Thank you, Professor Song. So let me first upload my slide. This one. Okay. So greetings to all participants. My name is Won Gi-min. I'm president of State University of New York, Korea. It's my great pleasure to make a presentation in this very prestigious meeting. And I'm also very delighted to be one of the speakers in this session. And we have excellent colleagues here. And I'm looking forward to hearing from the other two speakers on this important topic, because I have struggled a little bit to connect the concept of digital transformation with ESG. ESG itself is still actually not a kind of concrete concept. This ESG concept is coming from the financial sector, and the private equity company like BlackRock actually use this ESG as a concept of sustainable investment. We actually, as a society, we are actually experiencing very rapid digital transformation, and ESG, the importance of ESG is growing very fast as well. So there must be a kind of a linkage between these two concepts, and I hope that we can explore today a little bit about what kind of linkage these two important concepts has. So the table of contents will look at the two mega trends and the impacts of digital technologies, and then ESG and corporations, and I will conclude with what will be the future. So the two mega trends. So society as a whole, we are actually experiencing this digital transformation. Many people actually call it a fourth industrial revolution, which actually implies the importance of this whole digital transformation process. All sectors of the economy and societies are influenced by digital transformation. Nowadays, when we get up, we start with watching our smartphone and finding out our schedule and try to check the email, all those kind of things. And we order our meals through the app, and we actually buy tickets and make reservations through our digital platform. So the digital technology actually changed the way we live. It also changed the way actually the business do their businesses. So previously, companies, there were actually kind of division of IT sector, banking sector, manufacturing sector, something like that. But nowadays, all sectors are digital sectors. All industries use digital technology. Without digital technology, any single corporation cannot actually maintain their competitiveness in this digital economy. So this is a kind of mega trend, and it will stay with us for a long time. And another important trend here is this ESG. As I already mentioned, the concept came from the financial sector, and this is related with the kind of sustainable growth of the company. But nowadays, it becomes the kind of zeitgeist of all corporations. So when they do not consider concept of ESG, it's very difficult for corporations to actually get the good reputation in the society. Furthermore, it's very difficult for them to survive in the market. So there must be some connection here. Digital transformation is a mega trend of society, and this ESG is a zeitgeist of all corporations nowadays. So we'll look at what kind of linkage there through my presentation. And by the way, we call this connection as a corporate social responsibility 2.0. I don't like the kind of putting this number 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, something like that, but this is the kind of the concept coming from many academia, the colleagues in the academia. They believe that this digital technology and this ESG actually brings this new notion of a corporate social responsibility 2.0. Now we'll explore a little bit further about the impact of these digital technologies on the issues of ESG. First, just look at this. Digital technology actually sometimes works against the environment. So when you look at the electricity consumption of this world data center, actually the companies that are building these data centers for providing cloud services, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, you name it. And the total amount of electricity they used in 2019 was 250 terawatt per hour, which was actually larger than the total electricity consumption of Australia. And I believe many of you have your actual wallet and buy and sell these tokens or coins. And in order to actually create this Bitcoin, just focus on the Bitcoin. There are so many altcoins, but just to look at the Bitcoin. And in order to produce Bitcoin, you have to actually win the kind of calculations through this computation process. It actually consumes a lot of electricity. And the total world electricity consumption to produce Bitcoin is larger than the total usage of the electricity in the country of Argentina. Actually, this name of country is changing every year. It's changed every year because the consumption on the world electricity for actually making this Bitcoin, producing Bitcoin, is increasing every year. So definitely this digital transformation sometimes has negative impacts on environment. Another example, just to look at this huge amount of e-waste. So there is a 50 million tons of e-waste per year and 1,000 laptops per second, they are wasted. So this actually degrades the whole global environment. However, this digital technology, it can actually help us upgrade and improve world environment. It reduces waste and prevents pollutions. One good example is cloud computing. We just saw how much electricity data center uses, but just think about the other side of the token. If there would not be this kind of data center, each one of us use a lot of this very big size PC or server in our house or in our company. That would use more electricity, and that would create more kind of waste, e-waste, eventually. However, thanks to the cloud computing, nowadays, not many people actually owns the computer. They just bring their smartphone and their laptop. They just don't have this computer, PC, in their home. So cloud computing provides the kind of the computing capacity to all of us, and that reduces the kind of the consumption on these electronic goods. Thanks to this whole e-stuffs, we are not using these papers anymore. Many companies actually boast that they are paperless offices. And even in our university, we have not used much actually paper, because previously, actually, whenever we have meetings, we had these hard copies, but nowadays all things are uploaded on the computer. So that helps the environment. And this whole automated work process, really, this supply chain management, all these things actually reduce the total traffic, and that actually helps to lower the pollution level. So data technologies help improve the environment and conservation of energy. Just to look at the self-driving cars and smart highways. With self-driving cars, they just know what is the optimum kind of fuel efficiency of the car. So they do not brake hard and do not push the pedal hard. So they could conserve energy. And one good example is the use of this DeepMind AI technology for lower the Google data center user consumption of electricity. So by using this AI technology, we can actually reduce the consumption of energy. And this is not only the case of the Google's data center, this is also the case of the Amazon's data center, and even the management of these smart offices and smart buildings. And reducing the greenhouse gas emission. So when you look at the whole picture, this ICT sector, it actually produces 2% of the world greenhouse gas, but it actually helps to reduce the greenhouse gas by 15%. So IT technology, data technology works as an enabler to solve this greenhouse problem. And another important issue in relation to ESG is the role of data technology in social agenda. And one of the key agenda is the health and safety, especially under the pandemic. And this data technology actually reduces inefficiencies in all kinds of medical administration, and it improves the access to the patients and the users to medical services, and it reduces costs, and it increases the quality of things. When you look at the use of this AI technology, they are much more precise than the kind of radiologists and other medical doctors. So this data technology really helps to improve the quality of medical services, and we call that as a precision medicine. So each individual actually receives the very customized service based on the analysis of this AI technology and data technologies. And under the pandemic, we realized how useful this data technology is. So this teleconsultation with doctors and this self-quarantine safety protection app, which is used in many countries, including Korea. So data technologies enables us to protect us from this pandemic. And another important issue nowadays, maybe this is the most important issue in many advanced economies and developing economies, which is job creation. And many people actually worried about the role of AI or automation, and they might replace the kind of the workers in the factories and the field. And that is true, actually. And when we first read the paper coming from Oxford, this Mark Osborne paper, Osborne and Bernanke paper, we were all shocked the kind of impact of this automation and AI in the future job market. However, since then, there have been many actual reports came out about the impact of technology, especially AI and digital technology in the future job market. OECD produced a number of papers, and Harvard. And when you look at this World Economic Forum figure, this automation would actually cut the 75 million jobs in the job place in the real world. However, it will create 133 million new jobs by 2022. I will talk a little bit about the quality of jobs this digital economy will create, but regardless of the quality of the jobs, when you look at the absolute number of jobs that will be created because of this data technology, there will be surplus of the jobs thanks to this data technology. There are different views and ideas on this one. When you look at the book of Martin Ford, The Rise of Robot, he was very pessimistic about the future job market. And there are people who believe that we should think about the kind of jobless growth, something like that. However, when you look at the history, whenever new technology comes up, people are worried about the future job market. But time and time again, that new technology brings more jobs than the number of jobs replaced by that technology. So it seems that I'm a little bit behind the schedule. And when you look at the MOOC and this edX, all those kind of stuff, this data technology actually gives new opportunity for many people to enjoy the education. Previously, this high-level education was always only possible in the universities. However, nowadays, thanks to MOOC, if you are interested in any topic, you could actually access to those kind of educations. And this is the issue of gig economy, and this is the issue of quality of jobs, actually. When you look at the Uber drivers and Amazon Mechanical Turk, which actually link the kind of supplier and demand of certain functions, actually Uber is filed. There is a lot of kind of lawsuit filed against Uber because of the status of Uber drivers, because Uber does not look their drivers as their employees, so they do not provide kind of the entitlement which normal employees could enjoy. So this is a kind of issue because of the data technology. Now gig economy is everywhere, and you can actually take advantage of this gig economy to make extra amount of money. However, the other side of the token is the quality of job and the protection of the labor, the employee, is not as good as the kind of the previous industrial age. And when you look at the governance issue, this actually, let me just look at it. How much time do I have? I cannot see the chat box, so how much time do I have right now? Dr. Song, do I have 5 more minutes? Or?
Yes, you do have, yeah.
5 minutes, okay.
Yes.
So this data technology actually helps to improve the governance through the e-procurement, and actually the rapid progress of digital transformation actually put our privacy in danger. So it's very important to set up a kind of right reporting mechanism. So whenever you share that the company wants to share our personal data, they should inform us where they share our data and in which condition they actually use our data. That is the kind of the reason the European Commission came up with GDPR. There is this data tax issue. OECD is currently working on this BEPS negotiation. They aim to resolve this data tax issue by July 2021. The pillar one is, there are 2 pillars. Pillar 1 is this data tax issue, and pillar 2 is a kind of tax evasion issue. So recently, the Secretary Janet Yellen of the US mentioned about the necessity to introduce this global minimum corporate tax. And I hope that the BEPS negotiation would bring a kind of tangible outcome. So this data tax issue, which actually is a kind of issue for many countries, now Italy, United Kingdom, Turkey, India, and Germany, France, they actually they are saying that if OECD would not bring the kind of tangible outcome, they will impose unilateral data tax to Google, Facebook, all these kind of companies. And that will be the issue in Korea too in the future, if there would not be a kind of agreement in BEPS. And let's look at this issue from the corporate perspective. So when you look at this company Einlight, they actually bring this remotely controlled this electricity vehicle, which actually could reduce transport costs by up to 60% and could reduce carbon dioxide emission by 90%. And Microsoft is working on this project NATEC. This is a research project to determine the feasibility of subsea data centers powered by offshore renewable energy. We actually covered how much energy electricity data center consumes. So now they are working on this subsea actually data center, which could be powered by offshore renewable energy, fully recycled, zero emission. And Tesla is making more money not by selling their cars, but by actually making profit by selling their regulatory credit, because they do not produce any carbon dioxide, so they could actually sell their regulatory credit, and they made huge amount of money through this one. And when you look at the case of M-Pesa and Safari.com, it clearly shows how company can use this digital technology to change the whole society and economy. And this is I have just a couple of more slides, and this is the actual topic I would like to discuss with you, and I would like to listen to your view on this one. Previously, when you look at the industrial age, the relationship between the company and the market, the consumers, was quite simple. So the company's main concern was just how to protect the interest of shareholders. But look at the case of the digital economy. I just want to share this one. Kodak was a kind of once the champion of this film and camera industry. They once had this 28 billion actual turnover, and once actually hired 140 employees, and they were bankrupt in 2012. At the same year, Facebook actually bought this Instagram. The price tag was $1 billion US, and the total number of employees at that time was 13. So they actually, both of them, provide actually the same kind of service, image service to us. But Kodak, which actually had this 140 employees, so they actually made a lot of contribution to actually support the whole economy and society. But look at the case of Instagram with 13 employees. If they just look at the interest of the shareholders and employees, the impact, and especially the social impact of this company, would be very limited. And the most important thing is actually we are the kind of the people who provide all the contents to this company. Unlike Kodak, where actually they provide film, and we actually use that film and create these pictures, and we own this one. But here in Instagram, we provide our data, and they make a lot of money through that. So in this kind of case, actually, the Facebook or Instagram should focus more on the welfare of the consumers and users of these services. That's the reason actually the Klaus Schwab, the chairman of the World Economic Forum, insists that we should move from shareholder economy to the stakeholder economy. And I think this is the kind of very important issue we have to explore, and we have to find a way to find that kind of equilibrium between the shareholder and other stakeholders benefit in this digital economy. So thank you for listening. Thank you very much. But this is the final one. So I think this digital transformation and ESG should go hand in hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Min. You did a great job combining digital transformation with ESG, which was a very hard work. But thank you so much for sharing your insightful idea. And secondly, We have Dr. Zaki Corey, as a senior digital development specialist from the World Bank. And he's gonna talk about unlocking digital transformation for all opportunities and risks. Dr. Jackie Corey is a senior digital development specialist at the World Bank Digital Development Global Practice. His focus is on helping governments in advancing their data-driven digital economy, providing thought leadership on enabling policies for accelerating digital transformation and ensuring secure data infrastructure of the future. He's a leading contributor to the global work on artificial intelligence for development and effective data governance ecosystem. Dr. Corey is a member of the OECD network of experts on AI and the World Bank Korea Office's Global Technology and Innovation Program. He holds a PhD in planning, Master of Science in Economics, and Bachelor of Science in engineering. He has also continued his executive education in business at Harvard and management at McGill. He authored and spoke extensively on issues of digital transformation, disruptive technologies, and digital development. I hope you all enjoy Dr. Corey's presentation. The floor is yours, Dr. Corey.
Thank you very much, Professor Song. Let me share my screen. It will take a few seconds. I hope you can see my screen by now.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for the opportunity to come and talk with you all. In fact, the selection of the speakers is to be applauded because we will try to balance, let's say, the perspective between the three of us. President Min already gave a good, I would say, perspective from digital, the duality of digital in society and corporation environment, while linking it with the SDG, of course. I will try really to see how we can mainstream the digital, but in the same time in a responsible way. So looking at balancing a little bit the perspective. Just for the people who know, I live in Sondo, in Incheon, in Korea here. And there is a Hyundai outlet, which is a mall there. So this morning I stopped by and I wanted really to go quickly to zip in and zip out to have a cup of coffee. I tried to go to one of my favorite brand, but it was so busy. So I stopped by just a kiosk where there is a robot. I paid very quickly with my credit card. I selected from the screen what I want exactly, very quickly. And within exactly 2 minutes, for the people who didn't try it yet, you can get a cup of coffee. I took it and I went back to my car in order really to go to the office. But this incident that took just a few minutes is made me reflect before coming back to you, because that's the core of our discussion. How many people outside of Sondo, or maybe outside of Korea, that they do have access to such kind of privilege? A privilege where technology is really coming in delivering to us an efficient, agile, and in the same time, effective product that has plenty of innovation behind it, not just the taste of the coffee, but how it is prepared and offered to us. And that's basically what I would like to discuss with you. And I will really go through 3 points. What are the opportunities that a digital transformation is really taking us or providing us? But this is coming also with the risk that we need to be aware of, and how the bank, the World Bank, which is looking after developing countries, is really addressing the issue, and in the same time, trying really to leverage digital cooperation in order to address them within the framework of the SDG. 3 years ago, I guess you remember well, there was the landscape, the global landscape had a complete global race in order to adopt, diffuse, or even use some of the disruptive technology. And I will pick 3 of them here. 5G, where we started really to see more deployment, accelerating deployment even. In GCC countries within the Middle East, in Korea here, in some other few developed countries that started really to accelerate their deployment. IoT has been mainstream, especially with the networks and the capabilities of how we are processing the data stream that we are getting. And AI has been a kind of, I would not say mainstream, but it's not anymore of my day when as you can see, I have gray hair right now. So my day in engineering was about AI in labs or research from a conceptual perspective. But it is embedded in a very smooth way without even noticing it as a part of our technology. However, things get a shock, and the shock really came to us without any invitation. We didn't know it. For some time, we didn't experience something like that. But the shock, although it is dramatic in terms of the health costs and the economic cost, it came also with another thing, which is accelerating the digital transformation, mainstreaming it to a level that right now, after almost a year and a half, remote work, remote education, remote health, remote entertainment, even dating right now is becoming to be remote, which is not only a complete, I would say, propelling the technology itself to be more used, but it's also a change of mindset, a culture that is coming to us. With this, let's hit the core of our the core of our discussion today. So if I have a nexus between digital and development, which is basically, I'm trying really to focus on the mission of the World Bank, which is bringing a human face to the technology itself in a responsible way, looking at how this is advancing the prosperity and eradicating poverty by giving an inclusive access to everyone for this. We're still having the technology in terms of reducing costs. We're still having this idea or benefit of if I accelerate the use of technologies, I'm going into a more innovation. It's creating opportunities for delivering new services, new products that are more creative, and also providing, let's say, the tools, the means, like platforms, like what President Min already highlighted, to allow us in order really to include more people or exclude them in the same time. This is creating a new economy, and the economy is really data-driven, as you know. So what is really behind the digital economy that we are having here, or we are aiming, that each country, developed or developing, is really moving towards it, either completely or partially based on it. It's at the core here is really about the jobs. It's about that there is growth within the economy. It's also about creating more competition. It's a competitive economy that is leading there, but in the same time also we are bringing more efficiency to what is delivered. This is what we name it, the new social contract that is the digital transformation is bringing to us. While we are advancing by the use of technology, our economy in different sectors or subsectors, this needs to be attached towards impact, inclusive impact that is bringing some equality to what are the dividend returns of the digital economy. There is also something that you need to be aware of, is that this is not coming from scratch. You need some foundation to start from. You need to invest continuously in order really to bring the right digital infrastructure, the right platforms, the right capabilities that is being created. Just Korea here took more than 1 decade in order really to invest in such kind of digital infrastructure that we are seeing today as one of the top around the world. As you know, the recent EGDI for the digital government 2020 has put the digital infrastructure of the government in Korea at first in the world. And again, this is coming after years of investment that is allowing us to reach this point. I already mentioned that COVID changed dramatically to a point of no return the diffusion of the digital transformation in different sectors. Is it a new norm or an evolution? It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's basically it's digital transformation that will help us to build and recover from the downturn that has been the world has been facing, and especially in developing countries. So where should we start from in order really to have this responsible digital transformation? Or I would say the development perspective of digital transformation. There is at least half of the world is still unconnected in terms of broadband. Still, we are seeing a very different level of readiness when it is coming to the digital, the data-driven economy, or the digital economy that I was referring to right now. Believe it or not, but we're seeing almost half of the world, they don't have even EID, the foundation for just authenticate your identity online. And I already mentioned that we have uneven skills between the different, let's say, locations, countries, cities, and rural areas. But also I have to highlight the gender divide. Yes, still in today's world, that we do have a gender divide, especially when it is coming within the digital sector, or even who is benefiting from the digital dividends. And finally, when I'm talking really about the edge technology, the disruptive technologies, emerging technologies, we are still seeing very different level of adoption, which has created a new type of digital divide that we are seeing today, and more coming between, let's say, the early adopters and I would say, the followers that we are seeing there. So with this, let me highlight more on the risk part. I would like to just introduce you to 5 risks that you can catch. And this is where the World Bank is focusing right now. We talked about inclusion, so it is about the exclusion. What if the machine that I went in order really to get the robot that was preparing my coffee refused to give me because it's already scanned and profiled my face and discovered that I'm not the one that the algorithm is telling it to brew the coffee for me? What if this is exactly the machine that it is in the bank, and you do not have your ID card in order really to have the transaction? Or even you went to the ATM and then it scanned your face again or your finger and identified that you do not have the right in order to access your service, financial service, or money. This is definitely an exclusion that no matter what, it is not justified. There is also the cybersecurity that we are seeing an increase, 230% of it just during the 2020. And the data protection, which let's say the previous speaker already highlighted, from what the European Commission is doing in terms of GDPR, or let's say the new evolution of GDPR, but also what will be the case outside of EU that we can talk about today. There is also the market dynamics. I mentioned competitiveness and competitive market. Always we need more competition within the market, not a monopoly. And monopolies are unfortunately created also by digital technology. If the wrong, or let's say the unresponsible algorithm is there and being developed. And finally, as I told you, the rights and the liberties are crucial in order really for everyone, black or white, men or women or others, or even in terms of location-wise, you do have your rights and your liberty to access the service or access the network that you are looking at. If I deep dive very quickly, one by one, just to give you some figure you are aware of. So in some countries, when I'm talking here about the exclusion to access to broadband, which is the core of let's say the connectivity side, almost half of the developing world, they are still unconnected. The less developed countries, or let's say the most severe, I would say, less developed, this amount can really go over 80%. One more thing to know is that just recently, until the data of 2 years ago, there was only in the AI field and machine learning, I would say, only 12% are women comparing to the other, let's say, piece. So we need to push STEM with access to skills in a way. So quickly, also on the cybersecurity side, cybersecurity not just attack on corporates or on government institutions. It could be attack on your brain. It could be fake news. It could be also taking you and your mindset into a different direction than just taking control of the machine that you are having. There is a cost for this, and the cost is very heavy, and it is getting bigger and bigger, and mostly this risk is in developing countries in particular. On the data protection side, I would like to invite you to go through and read, if possible, the latest World Development Report that came from the World Bank, which is talking basically on data for better lives. Most of what we discussed today is really figure out this, but to simplify to you, what we are saying around data is that it's a very simple equation. You really need enablers in order for this data to flow, to be managed, to be organized, to be stored, to be used and reused. And not only we need to stop there, but we need also to protect and safeguard some of the personal data, and to a certain extent also enterprise data that are there. And we cannot really have a vibrant economy, everyone is involved, unless some safeguards are ensuring that there are some rules for the cross-border data flows to happen. We are really seeking a secure environment and pipes for such kind of transfer and transaction to happen. So please go ahead, have a look, even on the executive summary. It's a digital copy. I will put in the chat after my presentation a link towards a website where you can really enjoy some case studies or even some deep dive into the enablers or safeguards. Because at the end of the day, if we do have the enablers, if we do have the safeguards together, this is the only way in order to get value out of the data available so far. I would like to talk a little bit about AI specifically, because we are getting to a level where it is almost, I would say, included or meeting each of the SDGs that we have. It has its own impact there. But in the same time, I'm just showing you in the screen some of the risks that needs to be balanced also because of, let's say, our way of developing the algorithm there without being conscious that there is a cost or risk to be there. More and more we are aware, and more we are right now insisting that we need a responsible development and use of artificial intelligence in order really to serve humanities and advance development. So what is really the World Bank is taking us, or what is doing in order to advance the new social contract that I was referring to? First, you cannot do it by yourself, which means that, yes, we do have a responsibility, each one of the organization within the landscape, global landscape or national landscape or regional landscape. but everyone needs to work together on this matter. So collaboration and cooperation is key for multi-stakeholders. It's a collaborative approach rather than individual. There are also some platforms where this collaboration and cooperation can really land effectively. And one of them is what the partnership between the World Bank and Korea in terms of the digital, and it is guided by basically the Korean New Deal, as we are really going into the same direction of digital and its nexus with the green agenda. There are also other collaborations that are happening with different organizations, but especially in terms of allowing the scale up of the digital identity across the world and investing in such kind of goal. Finally, I would like just to mention that there is a mechanism, a vehicle for exploring and innovating on such kind of areas, and the knowledge that we are collaborating with other stakeholders in order really for the World Bank to open it up as a public good is basically funded by a global partnership named Digital Development Partnership, where Korea is a founding member of it in order really to push this agenda of balancing the opportunities and risks of digital transformation. I would like to thank you for listening to this short and brief conversation that we are having, and I look forward really to the discussion afterward. The only thing that I would like to mention is that digital is exciting, because I really enjoyed the preparation of my coffee through a robot more than the coffee cup itself. However, because I'm aware that there is also, other than the excitement, there are opportunities and in the same time some risks that needs to be governed of such kind of technology, are more capable in order really to be responsible for gaining the digital divides that this technology is bringing us. Thank you so much, and looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Corey, for your excellent presentation with deep information there. Let's speed up a little bit. So now we have got our third presenter for today, Professor Young-Suk Ju. Is a distinguished professor of Graduate School of Engineering and Technology at Korea University. And he is engaged with the Korean University as distinguished professor and with the Korea ICT Convergence Network as chairman. He is also a member of National Academy of Engineering of Korea. He served for the Korean government as a small and medium enterprise minister, a member of National Economic Advisory Council, and managing director of Office of Strategic R&D Planning, Ministry of Knowledge Economy. And prior to that, he had spent 30 years with the industry, including several CEO positions at Hyundai Motor Group and GE Group. He is going to deliver his presentation on ESG embedded business model innovation based on digital transformation. The floor is yours, Professor Ju.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to share the the screen with you. Okay, so on the I really thank you for your kind favor to shift the sequence of my presentation to last. Thanks to that, I could take care of the very urgent issue. Okay, today I'm going to discuss and present the ESG embedded being smart innovation based upon digital transformation, which is the core of the fourth industrial revolution.
Sorry, Professor Chu, could you put your slide on the presentation mode so that everyone can see it better?
Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Okay, so okay. Okay. So now the world is in the hyper change era. I can say that right now the change of the scope of change or speed of change or scale of change is enormous, not comparable with the past time. So everything is changing right now. So today because of time constraints, already we are behind schedule. So I tried to squeeze my presentation as much as I can. So I'd like to very briefly cover the presentation slides. So please allow that. And now the world economic, the global economic environment is changing very fast, especially around the fourth industrial revolution and the new normal era. And the technology is changing very fast, and the generation, people is changing, and people is a kind of core of everything. So our business environment is also changing as a result of that, and also capitalism, which is the core framework or the paradigm of the economy is changing, so resulting in also changing the government policy. And the management philosophy is also being changed right now. And then we are facing the COVID-19 pandemic and everything we couldn't see the previously. And also we are concerning about kind of new changes, including a climate crisis. So that's the reason why we characterize current time as a hyper change era. So actually, today, how we can take care of this kind of change by means of the current new approach. That is the current the kind of the key message of my presentation today. So I'll do not have a time to elaborate. So I believe that everyone knows very well what is the personal revolution, which is actually the digital transformation is a core concept, a core message of the fourth industrial revolution, and the eventual impact or message to the enterprises is a business model innovation enabled by this technology innovation. So the many people are focused on the technology side, but I believe that the more important thing from the standpoint of the enterprises is a business model. What kind of impact goes to our current business model? So that's the reason why we need to innovate our business model. So basically, to make long story short, the current business model is being innovated from the mass production based business model to customization and personalization based business model. So that's the reason why we need to innovate the business model. So by the means of the digital transformation technologies. So, and then now the importance of job is increasing very fast because of the increasing trade protectionism and the me first the syndrome. So resulting in G2 trade war. So that is also a very important change. And technologies are changing very fast. So actually, the presentation covers this side a lot. So I'll skip this. So, and then especially the most important thing in the digital transformation is data. So that's the reason why the in CES 2020 last year, the CTA clearly announced that the next 10 years will be an age of data. So how to open the age of data? That is by means of the intelligence of things. So intelligence of things is composed of the hyperconnectivity, hyperdata, and hyperintelligence. So this capability becomes extremely important. So and this kind of trend is gaining momentum. So in other words, accelerating more. You can it is obvious in the area of the AI, deep learning, robotics, and natural language processing or cloud computing. So this kind of trend is very obvious. And generation is currently being changed. So as now the millennials, which is late 20th and 30th, and Gen Z, the late 10th and the early the 20th. Those the millennials and Gen Z is in other words the MZ generation becomes the core part of the customers as well as the employees of the company. So that's the reason why the enterprise needs to renovate and completely change management strategies, including marketing, human resource management, external relationships. So that is the one of the most important message. And capitalism 4.0 is becomes the kind of core concept of the newly changing the capitalism as of today. So already previous presenters the covers this area, including stakeholder emerging stakeholder capitalism concept. So actually this is extremely important to understand why the ESG becomes the big boom. ESG is a booming as of today. So the ESG is originated from capitalism 4.0, which is can be said as the inclusive capitalism. So the take care of the not only shareholder but also the much more wide range of the stakeholders, including customers and employees or local communities. So that kind of the how to balance innovation and inclusiveness. That is the core concept of this trend. And as a result of that, the social value-based the ESG is on the rise. So as I emphasized, the capitalism 4.0, which is on the inclusive growth and the rising MZ generation and the digitalization and the personalization. Actually, right now the role and responsibility of the enterprise is being changed, and new demand is currently goes to these enterprises. And then the Corona-19 pandemic is accelerating this kind of trend. So that's the reason why why ESG is the booming right now. So I'll cover this in more detail in later slides. And then we are currently facing COVID-19 pandemic, and then we believe that I'll skip this slides because of time. We believe that the Corona pandemic is directly or indirectly related with the climate change. So now the many people are giving kind of warning to humankind. We may face the climate crisis, which is much larger impact than Corona-19 pandemic. So now the global governments are starting to address this issue by means of the carbon neutral policy. So many countries are currently swearing the they will achieve carbon neutral by 2050, which will be in line with the SDG of the United Nations. And China is also announced the carbon neutral policy, which will be done by 2060. So actually this kind of the carbon neutral policy is also accelerating the boom of the ESG, especially after the Biden administration came into the office. So and then actually based upon this kind of change, how to take care of this kind of hyper change era from the standpoint of the enterprises. So I proposed the 5 major innovation. All of them is based upon digital transformation. So firstly, the enterprise need to innovate business model. I will cover in more detail in later slides. And the enterprise system needs to be innovated, and the technology innovation is a core enabler to enable business model innovation and as well as the enterprise system innovation. And human resources needs to be trained and reskilled to take care of this kind of trend. And then the market needs to be innovated, especially from the standpoint of the Korean economy. It is a perfect and best time to globalize, even accelerate the globalization because of several reasons. Today I couldn't have enough time to explain this kind of the things. So many people are talking about the deglobalization, but Korean economy is the perfect chance to expand globalization. So eventually we need to pursue global win-win growth model rather than the winner takes all strategy. Actually, we need to make growth along with our counterpart countries. So that is the kind of the brief explanation of the 5 major innovation. Out of these 5 major innovation, I will the more elaborate about business model innovation, which is the most important part of these 5 the business model innovation. 5 the major innovation. So actually, as I emphasized, the business model innovation based on digital transformation is the most important out of these 5 the innovations. Okay, so business model innovation is a kind of sometimes the what is it has the many different interpretation, but in order to make some precise execution of this kind of business model innovation, we need to understand what is the business model. So business model is composed of the 4 parts. First one is customers. Who is my customers? So we need to previously in the time of the mass production, the customers are all around the market, but at the time of the customization and personalization, which is the main the character of the personal revolution and digital transformation, we need to focus on the specific customer segment. So, and then what is the second one is a product and services. What kind of the value proposition we can make for those customers? And third one is operation model. How we can make, develop, and produce and sell those products or our services. And finally, first factor will be revenue model. What kind of how to get revenues? So actually, I'm currently proposing many Korean companies to prepare action plans, which is very best fit for their own situation, their own strengths and the weaknesses, and what kind of industry they belong to. So these 4 factors needs to be innovated from as is to be by means of the digital transformation. Okay, so the direction of the being smart innovation, we need to continuously develop new business models. So the product and service needs to be innovated, and then the product and service needs to be converged and combined, and then we need to create the kind of platform business model, and and we need to converge and combine a product with the finance and data-driven business model, O2 business model, O4 business model, and intellectual property, the right-based business model. So there could be many business models. So we need to find the right solution, right business model for each the enterprises. So I'll skip this slide. So that means this kind of product and service business innovation must pursue customization, personalization trend, but needs to be differentiated by industry or enterprise type, whether it is B2B or B2C or process industry or discrete industry. That is the kind of brief overview of that kind of business product innovation. And the key trends for product and service innovation is includes customization and personalization using digital transformation, and the product and service needs to be fit for NZ the generation, and MC connected generation, in other words. And also this product, it needs to be eco-friendly, based upon the ESG concept. And also the home economy becomes the booming as of today as the kind of solutions for Corona-19 pandemic. There could be more. And product and service needs to be converged. So in other words, the product servitization and everything as a service is a clear global trend. So especially this year, CES 2021, many companies is announced this kind of concept. GM Artify, which is integrated customer experience service platform for GEV customers, is one example. Or LG Electronics and the proactive care services, which will provide customers with predictive maintenance service. Or Omron Vital Site is a kind of the integrated blood pressure management service. That kind of things is a kind of only a few example of the so many the trends. And platform could be two ways. One is connecting consumers, and the platform connecting consumers and suppliers, and total solution provider to provide customers with the total solutions. And then the product and finance convergence model is there are many the examples for that. And finally, I'll cover ESG issue. So ESG is supposed to be embedded into this business model innovation. There's a clear global trend. So right now there are many different versions, different interpretation about the ESG. There's my big concern. So we need to understand the kind of the ESG very precisely and in the right manner. So actually environment doesn't mean not only environment protection, but also actually creating a new added value added by using the environment technology and energy saving technology, and circular economy technology, hydrogen economy technology, and many technologies coping with the climate change. So very technology driven, the value added creation, process. So social is also, it doesn't mean not only social responsibility issue, but also on the all kind of the technology and innovation to accomplish vision of the society, and also at the same time resolves social pain points and social problems. So by doing so, we can create big wealth, as well as the big business, as well as the social values, big respect and big fandom. And governance is the same issue. So actually transparency in terms of the ownership, but not only ownership issue, but also diversity, inclusiveness, fairness of the companies. That is very extremely important. So pursue this one as well as the economic the value at the same time. So in conclusion, we need to approach this issue from the standpoint of the market economy rather than social economy. So actually by pursuing the economic value and social value at the same time. So that is a kind of core concept of ESG, the management, ESG investment, ESG indicators. And as I told you, on the vision pursued by the society or nation and humankind is the goal of the business model. So the how to make the how to contribute to a healthy society, how to contribute to a sustainable society, how to contribute to the smart society and safe society and growing society. That is the kind of the best way to create the social value and economic value at the same time. So this kind of the direction for ESG embedded business model is supposed to be achieved by means of the technology innovation, including digital transformation, and it requires the expansion of the research and the development investment. Actually, as we can see from this the figure, the idea-driven the results is quite easy, but is a kind of low-hanging fruit, is easy to take, but in order to be the competitive and in order to be create big things, actually the technical innovation needs to be involved. So in conclusion, ESG needs to be a core of the business model innovation. At the same time, this ESG embedded business model innovation must be based upon the digital transformation. So this kind of message is very important. Okay, that's it for my presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Zhu, for your inspiring presentation for us. And I'd like to thank you, all three presenters. Before we run into the Q&A session, I would like to make an invitation for the audience to stay a little bit longer for the Q&A, because we are running out of time already. So we don't have any time for Q&A if we abide by the pre-scheduled time, which was to end by 4:30. So I would like to invite everyone to stay a little bit longer for like 10 minutes so that we can have enough question and answer session. So, and then after the session, please go to this website to enter your post-event survey. And now let's have some time for questions and answers. We have some pre-registered questions as well as questions we are seeing from the Q&A box, which was real-timely entered by the audience. I would like to pick up some tricky ones for my presenters here today. So here is the one from Nabaz Kayat. Professor Zhu, a very impressive presentation. Don't you think rich countries to contribute to the digitalization and to support the developing countries through the 5 major innovations based on digital transformation. Could you answer that question, Professor Ju?
Okay, and these 5 major the innovation based upon the digital transformation is a kind of the proposition of my proposition based upon my experience with industry and government and academia. So this can be applied not only developed countries but also the developing countries and emerging countries. So that's because even, for example, the smart cities is one of the example of the digital transformation. So the smart cities is what the all global countries are currently pursuing the using digital transformation. So even for ESG for smart cities, the ESG could be becomes more and more important concept for the smart cities too. So I think that Korea is a country today in the morning I had the kind of forum with the Korean leaders, including the government. So the Korean government is as the President Min, the previously Vice Minister of the MSIT, explained the Korea is he's also leading many projects to support the developing countries in terms of the digital transformation. So I think that the innovation is on the more focus on the enterprises. So the Korean companies are currently globalizing themselves into many countries, including developed countries as well as the developing countries like ASEAN countries, for example. So the Korea is helping those countries by means of partnership in the course of the business development.
Thank you, Professor Ju. And the next question goes to President Min. This is a question from Najibullah Khan. He is asking that digital transformation requires electricity, whereas many countries do not have electricity for their population needs. So still most of the electricity is produced using fossil fuels, that is adding to pollution. How do you see digital transformation and environmental parts of ESG interrelated?
Thank you for this excellent question. This is a kind of issue we have to address, because even though we are talking about artificial intelligence and this digital transformation, quantum computing, when you look at the half of the global population, they are not actually reaching out to this kind of technologies. And 1/4 of the population, they still do not have this broadband. So this is an issue, and there are people who do not have enough electricity. But in the meantime, when you look at the penetration rate of mobile phones, even in African countries and very poor countries, people do have mobile phones. And there are technologies available which provides kind of this energy to these mobile handsets, so they can make a connection to the antenna and network. So electricity is an essential good. This is a kind of essential infrastructure, and many countries will actually suffer from the lack of electricity. However, that does not necessarily mean that digital transformation will not happen in those countries. Because thanks to the widespread use of mobile phone and the kind of alternative technologies which provide energy to this mobile handset, nowadays these people can reach to the data and they could actually reach to the global market. So we need to actually separate these two issues. We have to provide electricity to these underdeveloped countries. This is a kind of one thing. The other thing is we also need to think about how to spread the use of digital technologies in these countries where they lack the electricity. And there are some possible alternative technologies. And I hope that this kind of efforts will be made by the United Nations and many developed countries. And Korea, used to work for the Korean government, and Korea is actually willing to support these countries with this concept of appropriate technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Min. Dr. Corey, you are not lonely in this Q&A. So there is one question for you. Nice presentation. This is from Nabaz Kayat. Nice presentation. I would like to ask how the digital transformation and disruption will contribute to the UN SDGs, especially for LDCs. Could you answer that question?
Thank you for the question. It's very simple, is that digital transformation is not the one who is solving SDG. Digital transformation and technologies are enablers and then sometimes accelerators to help us achieve SDGs. We were talking about, for example, the electricity, access to electricity or power, for example. There is two ways. There is a technology in order really to build a power plant that is fueled by basically solar. And there is another one that is basically fueled turbines that are fueled by just fossil fuel. So the whole idea is that the technology is allowing us to either accelerate our leapfrogging, even in countries that they didn't start. When M-Pesa started, M-Pesa basically in Kenya started because of a demand, because there is a gap. There was a gap of financial transaction for the poor or for everyone. So it allowed us, the technology allowed us here as a mean in order really to go and provide access, inclusive access to digital services here through such technology by using a mobile network and in the same time adding into it application development and services. So the platform allowed us to do this. And in every single one, we have to have this type of approach, is that the technology is not the solution. The technology is allowing us to do better and accelerate our way of reaching to address, let's say, a specific needs or to optimize a specific sector, or even to innovate and bring better productivity and growth for another one. If we would like really a more detailed answer with the matrix that is mapping the type of technologies and in the same time also the approach for each one of the SDG, there are several studies that went into this, including the World Bank. We are issuing an annual SDG Atlas, where there is a basically, in addition to the dashboard that is tracking the progress of SDG, there is also a specific focus on what type of technology and evolving technology that can help really accelerate or enable to reach better results into the sector itself. So I would like to invite everyone to have a look on the annual Atlas, SDG Atlas, but also from a conceptual perspective, go back, please, to the World Development Report 2016 on digital dividends. You can see from my answer is that I'm referring always to the publication or previous research of the World Bank. It's not the only one, but at least I would like to highlight this knowledge that is that can be shared with everyone. But everyone is free to go to other references too.
Thank you, Dr. Corey. And thanks a lot, everyone who entered your questions online real time. But we do have some few questions from pre-registered questionnaire box. So I would like to ask one question for each presenter as our last round of Q&A. Please, presenters, spend just only 1 minute per each question and answer in a precise manner so that we can keep the time more in as scheduled. So the first question goes to Dr. Zaki. So how would government address the data privacy issue and make efforts to improve efficiency and better service for all the people or for all the citizens? Could you answer the question, Dr. Corey?
Thank you for the question. With regard to data privacy, I believe that the participants was trying really to zoom into citizen or individual privacy, not enterprise side of the privacy. And this is the regular policy intervention here is regulation. But what we are looking at is really robust regulation in terms of a meaningful regulation that is allowed to be implemented through clear mechanism and ready entities that can enforce such kind of regulation. On the other side, there is also what we believe that it has also a responsibility from corporate in terms of soft regulation, which there is a set of principles, and privacy needs to be by default, by design, not only in terms of from the government side, but also from corporate side. And that's something that needs to be, in addition to, let's say, to the regulation, it needs to be also from the inside each one of responsible corporate to come with its own policy that will enable such kind of privacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Corey. And the next question goes to President Min. What are the effective ways for the public to coordinate different levels and various actors for SDG and ESG implementation? This is a question from MJ Kim from Korea.
I think that is very important but very difficult issue. Everybody has different interests, and when you look at all stakeholders in the whole society, corporations have their own interest, and individuals have their own interest, and the nation itself has its own interest. So it's very important to come up with kind of the national consensus, national social consensus on this issue, this ESG, because it requires a sacrifice of certain groups. So if we would like to ask the sacrifice of certain group of people or group of corporations here, we have to also provide certain remedies and the kind of rewards on those kind of sacrifices. And we also need some kind of principle on that. That's the reason I think it's very important to set up the social kind of consensus on this important issue, because this issue will be with us for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, President Min, for your clear answer. The last question goes to Professor Zhu. How central and local governments can shift from linear economy to circular economy and green economy? This is a question from Simeon Arnaudov from Bulgaria.
Okay, that is very important. At the same time, the very difficult question. Actually right now the circular economy is not completed in even most developed countries in the world. So every country is currently talking about the circular economy and preparing the necessary actions for that. So the hydrogen economy is one of the approaches, and but actually, whenever I talk about the circular economy, actually, I'm always emphasizing the importance of the first step. Very easy one is energy savings or resource savings is a kind of step. So we need to save all energy we are consuming every day. We need to save all resources we are consuming every day. So that is the definitely clear first step of to achieve the circular economy. At the same time, right now every government is investing into the technologies to achieve circular economy. So that is currently in progress. So within 1 minute is impossible to explain that. So anyway, the circular economy is one thing I'd like to say that is it is not kind of what is it completed by anybody. So it's a kind of start of the process. And I think that kind of that can preservation of the energy as well as the resources is the kind of most important part.
Thank you, Dr. Zhu. All the audience, we have all the participants from 73 countries, over 157 attendees for each session. This shows us the gravity of the issue of SDG and ESG, and more importantly on governance in terms of at the national level and communal level and the regional and international level as well. So I would like to invite everyone to join us next week at the same time again, and as well go to the website to enter your post-session survey. And as well, for your information, all the presentation materials will be uploaded to UN Project Office on Governance website for your reference. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And I would like to give one big applause to the excellent presenters for today. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And I hope to see you everyone back next Friday. Bye-bye.